So count me in. Basically, it's a request from Lori Olson for us to build some kind of an app which she can install on her phone to bring to her with her when she goes to sell tickets at all the events here at ZMHS. Reading the directions, she's looking for an app to keep track of the number of kid tickets, which are the free ones, student tickets, adult tickets, and season pass tickets. She kind of wants to know how many of each and a grand total. So we got 4 different groups of people to keep track of, plus a grand total. She wants some way to be able to add and take away in case she misclicks the button. Looking for a way to lock and unlock the device so she can't do an accidental click. And some way to reset and clear the app back to 0 again. And finally, the user interface, some kind of a thunder theme. So we have 4 groups of tickets, adding, subtracting, a lockout option, a reset button, and thunder themed. That's a lot. So I'm going to kind of paraphrase that into a backlog and then get some kind of a list of potential codes or items I'll need. Think of it like this would be like a general 2-3 sentence overview of what you're going to do, like in summary format. For instance, I'm going to make a meal for Thanksgiving dinner. And then here would be possible items you need to buy. So for making a Thanksgiving meal, I'm going to need, of course, some turkey, some potatoes, some stuffing, some kind of vegetable, some desserts, maybe some milk, some juices, some pops, some bread, just kind of general ingredients. So for our sake, Lori wants a counting app to keep track of 4 groups of people, add people, subtract people, lockout device, clear reset option, thunder themed. That's my backlog. Sprint task list could be like a plus and minus button for each of the 4 groups. I will need some kind of a label to show how many count for each group. I'll need a label for the total grand total for the whole attendance. I'll need a lockout button. I will need some kind of a clear reset button and a background. Sprint task list. Okay. So basically, here's my blank screen. I'm thinking of having a large number on top for grand total. And then maybe below it I can go my individual buttons. I'm thinking if she has a phone in her hand, her hand's down here, her thumb can reach only so far. So I'll make it a little more thumb friendly. So I'm going to quickly lay out my screen, and then I'll kind of talk about what we're going on here. Alright, so here's kind of my screen. I'm thinking up top I'm going to have my reset button kind of out of the way so I won't bump by accident. Here will be my screen to display my total number of people in attendance. Then I'm going to have my kids button to add, my count for the kids button, kids button subtract. Then same thing here for students add, student subtract, student count, adult add, adult subtract, adult count, season pass add, season pass subtract, season pass count. Then my check off lockbox. I put mine in some places here called their organizers called arrangements. So I have a top arrangement with my 1 button inside. Then I have my larger arrangement in the middle for my display. And I'm going to throw a label in that. And then see I have my label centered. I took my arrangement tray and I have it aligning things center horizontally and vertically. There it is. And my buttons. Here I went with a table arrangement. I went 3 columns because I got 1 column, 2 column, 3 column. By 4 rows, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, so they all fit nicely in there. I have a checkbox. I'm going to rename all this stuff and then begin some coding. So here's kind of my idea for my layout. I have a reset button on top, my big counter, individual buttons, a plus and a minus with a counter in the middle, and then my checkbox at the bottom, I renamed all my buttons to make sense to me. A reset button, a free plus button, a free count label, a free subtract button. Make it make sense to you when you're laying it out here. I did specify as far as I want to have some things like left justified, some centered, some evenly spaced, and some ready to go. For the coding aspect, I'm just going to begin by doing a couple things here. And with the blocks view, I'm going to need to bring out some counters. I'm going to need this thing called initialize global variable. I'm going to need one for each one of my counts. I have a free count, student count, an adult count, which is a pass count, and then an overall count for the whole thing. So I'm going to set them all to begin at 0. I'm going to rename them all. So the first turn my program on is going to set up 5 counters. My kids counters beginning at 0, student 0, adult 0, system pass 0, my total 0. I'm going to do one of the buttons, then I'll let you do the rest. I'm going to do my kids buttons. So my free plus button, I want to have a when click do option. And when the free plus button is clicked and when free subtract button is clicked. They're very similar, but a little bit different. So free plus and free subtract. Well, I want to have this do some stuff here. I want to have it take my variable, and it's going to set that counter of my variable. In this case, it's going to be my free, which is my kids. Let me rename this here to free, so it's going to be the same. That way it'll make more sense. So free plus is going to set the global counter of my free. It's going to set it to some math. I want to add. It's going to set it to whatever the counter currently is, which is this, which is 0. And I'm going to add 1 to it. So when I click it, it takes the current count, which in this case is 0, adds 1. Now the counter is at 1. This is kind of done behind the scenes. You won't see it. I must now go to my free count label, and I want to set that free count label text. Set free count text color. Here it is, set free count text. So I'll set my text to whatever this is. So the button's clicked. It'll take my counter of 0 and add 1 to it to make it 1, and then it's going to display the text to 1. Subtract the exact same way. I'm going to take that same variable, set my free global. It's going to be to a subtract. I'm going to take whatever my current total is, and I'm going to subtract 1 off of it. Kind of out of room here, aren't I? Subtract a 1 off it. And after you do the count, I must then take my label and display it. So set free count text to whatever that is. This will work. I will count upward or downward, but the downside is I can count below 0. Alright, so that's going to be bad. So I'll fix that in the next video. But for now, I want to figure out too is how do we get the main label to do its thing. This counts individually. This here will count just for this label, but it won't count for that one. So how can we set the code up to have this one click of the button set the free count plus 1 and display it, and set the total count and display it? We have to bundle up these to have 1 for the free and 1 for the global total counter. Here too. Multitasking buttons, 2 things. Subtract sets the free count, and it must set the global count. So how might that look? Let's see here. So here's that. How might it look? Global free plus 1, then display it, and the global total plus 1 and display it. This exact same way, just didn't add it yet. So there's the beginnings of our Count Me In app.